Sometimes the first red flag isn't a lie, but something that simply doesn't add up, a detail that feels wrong the moment you notice it. Today's story is about intuition, silence, and a single question that uncovers a truth far more serious than betrayal. It's a reminder that fear can be more dangerous than honesty, and that ignoring what feels off never makes it disappear. Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. She came back with a tan. Not a spray tan. A real one. Ocean-washed, sun-drenched, golden shoulders kind of tan. And that was the first sign. Because she was supposed to be in Portland. It was raining in Portland all week. I watched the forecast obsessively, not because I missed her, though I did, but because something in my stomach had been turning like a rusted gear ever since she left. For 14 days, she was at an offsite. 14 days of recycled excuses, vague photos, and exactly 2 rushed phone calls that always dropped mid-sentence. Wi-Fi here sucks, she said. Sorry, babe. Gotta run. We're doing brainstorming exercises. But I noticed something strange. Every time I called, I heard birds in the background. Not pigeons. Not city birds. Tropical ones. The kind that don't belong anywhere near Oregon. I didn't confront her then. I made tea instead. Sat on the porch. Listened. Thought. And then I did something I promised myself I wouldn't do. I opened her email. Before you judge me. No, I didn't guess her password. She was still logged in on the iPad we share. And I didn't even have to search. It was right there, staring at me from a pinned tab. A confirmation email for a beachfront villa. Booked for 2 guests. Breakfast included. King bed. Ocean view. She'd never mentioned a villa. She'd never mentioned a beach. She'd never mentioned him. His name was at the bottom of the reservation. Ezra Langford. I recognized it. I'd seen it once on a Zoom call when I walked past her laptop, and she slammed it shut like it was radioactive. She said he was weird. Said he did breath work during breaks, and that HR made him take a course on boundaries. Weird guy to take on a trip. Especially alone. But still, I waited. I needed to see her face. To ask, calmly, without shouting, without accusation. I wanted her to say it. So when she walked in that night, suitcase dragging behind her, flip-flop tan lines on her feet, I just smiled and said, "Welcome home." She looked surprised, like she didn't expect me to be standing there. She went straight to the kitchen, said she was starving, said she had a headache, said she just wanted a shower and sleep. She pulled out a souvenir from her bag, a little keychain shaped like a pineapple. I stared at it. Pineapples don't grow in Portland. Later, as she was brushing her teeth, I stood in the doorway and asked just one question. Just one. Hey, do you know what illness he has? She froze. Toothbrush halfway to her mouth. Not even touching her lips. Not even blinking. What are you talking about? She said. No confusion. No laughter. No who. Just fear. Pure, cold, unmistakable fear. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. I just repeated it. Do you know what illness Ezra has? She spit into the sink. Wiped her mouth. And then she ran. Out of the bathroom. Out of the house. No coat. No phone. No shoes. Just gone. That was 3 nights ago, and I haven't heard a single word since. She didn't take her purse. That was the first thing I noticed after she ran out. It was still sitting on the dining table, like she'd be back in 5 minutes. Like she'd only gone out to scream into the night and then return, apologizing, lying, whatever she thought would fix it. But hours passed. Midnight came. Then 2 a.m. The front door stayed open, swinging slightly from the breeze. I checked the driveway. Her car was still there. That meant she was on foot. In Vermont. In December. At one point, I opened the fridge just to give my hands something to do. Inside was her favorite oat milk, still sealed. She'd just bought it the day before. That made me angry for some reason. Like how dare she go missing and still be this domestically considerate. I couldn't sleep. Not just because she was gone, but because the question I asked wasn't a guess. It was a trap. You see, Ezra, the co-worker, had been in the hospital. I found that out 2 nights before she came home. A mutual friend had posted a vague, sending healing vibes to EL story on Instagram. I clicked on his profile, scrolled, stared. That's when I saw a post tagged at a private medical center in Costa Rica. Not Portland. Not even close. The caption said, "Rest, reflect, rebuild." Something told me it wasn't a detox retreat. So I called the clinic. Said I was a family member. They told me he'd been discharged after stage 2 treatment. Wouldn't say more. Stage 2 what? When I asked Celeste that question, Do you know what illness he has? I wanted to see if she flinched. She didn't flinch. She fled. By sunrise, I still hadn't heard anything. No text. No call. I started checking everything. Bank app. No charges since she got home. Her location? Turned off. Uber? No activity. But then I opened her laptop. I wish I hadn't. In the browser history were searches for things like, how long does someone live with stage 2? Can you get sick from kissing someone with? Can you sue someone for not disclosing medical condition? And then, right at the bottom of the list, symptoms of guilt versus symptoms of exposure. What the hell was going on? She wasn't just lying. She was scared. Of something. Or someone. Or maybe me. And yet, I still loved her. Which is the worst part. By the time the second day passed with no word from Celeste, I found myself doing things I never thought I'd do. I walked the neighborhood twice, checking sidewalks, ditches, park benches. I called the local ER pretending to be her brother. I even texted her mom, something I hadn't done in over a year, just to ask if Celeste had mentioned any travel plans. She hadn't. That night I couldn't sit still. I made tea, didn't drink it. Cleaned the entire kitchen twice. I kept thinking back to what I saw in her browser history, those search terms. Each one was a breadcrumb leading to something I didn't want to admit. She might not have just cheated. She might have known what she was doing could hurt someone. Maybe even kill someone. Around 1 a.m., I opened her laptop again. I hadn't touched it since the night before. I stared at it for a long time before finally clicking into her drafts folder in Gmail. And that's when I found it. A message. Written, unsent. Addressed to me. No subject line. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It started as something stupid. An experiment, maybe. I was bored. Ezra paid attention to things you didn't. He noticed my favorite song, my coffee order, the way I say library with a weird R. I never meant to sleep with him. And once I found out, I panicked. I thought maybe it wouldn't affect you. I didn't think he would lie to me about being sick. That's where it stopped. No ending. No explanation of what being sick meant. Just her confession that whatever they had was physical, and that she'd learned something after the fact. Something big enough to write that email, but not big enough to send it. The house felt smaller after that. Every room held pieces of a woman I didn't recognize anymore. Her coat was still on the hanger. Her hairbrush had a strand of red in it. She always said she hated how fast her hair fell out when she was stressed. I guess now I know why. For some reason, I checked the garbage next. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe a receipt, or a wrapper from a hotel minibar, but I found something stranger. A printout. A boarding pass, dated 5 days before she told me she was flying to Portland. But not to Portland. It was to Liberia, Costa Rica, same city as the medical clinic Ezra had checked into. So now I had proof that she lied about the trip, that she went early, that she didn't just coincidentally end up near Ezra, that it wasn't just a business retreat. And I had her half-written email, quietly confessing to things she'd never had the guts to say out loud. But none of it explained why she ran. And none of it explained the thing that happened next. Because the following morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It only said 6 words. Don't go to the police. Please. The message came at 6:42 in the morning. I hadn't even made coffee yet. Just sat there on the couch, barely awake, staring out the window, thinking about how quiet the street was. Then my phone buzzed. Don't go to the police. Please. No name. No punctuation beyond that one period. The number was from California. At first, I thought maybe it was Celeste. But why would she text from a different number? And if she was okay, why not say so? Why that message? I called the number. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. I didn't leave a message. What was I going to say? Hey, I got your creepy warning. Care to elaborate? I told myself it was probably a scam. Just bad timing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it was connected. Maybe Celeste had told someone. Maybe Ezra had people watching her. Or me. I don't know. I suddenly felt like I wasn't alone in the house. I closed all the blinds. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. I didn't even know what I'd report. My wife lied about a vacation, cheated on me, ran out barefoot, and someone told me not to tattle. Instead, I did something stupider. I texted the number back. Where is she? No reply. Not that hour. Not that day. But something did happen later that night. A car pulled up across the street. Black, older model, running but no lights on. It stayed parked for almost 30 minutes. And then it just drove off. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? After 30 minutes of watching that dark car idle across the street, I kept waiting for something to happen. A door to open, a window to roll down, a flash, a sound, anything. But nothing came. Just a quiet engine, glowing dashboard, and the vague shape of someone sitting behind the wheel. Not moving, not even checking a phone. At some point I got brave, or stupid, and stepped out onto the porch. I tried to act casual, like I was just getting air, stretching, pretending not to notice the vehicle parked directly in view of my front door. I glanced once, quickly. The windows were tinted, but I could make out a figure. Male. Not big, but stocky. He wasn't looking at me, though. He was staring straight ahead, like I wasn't even there. Then the car suddenly pulled away. Not fast, not dramatic. Just a smooth, quiet roll forward, and then around the corner like it was never there at all. But it was. I know what I saw. I stood on the porch long after the engine sound disappeared, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Just a guy waiting for someone. A lost driver checking GPS. That's all. Except the next morning, I checked my Ring camera. The footage was gone. I don't mean it didn't record. I mean that exact window of time, from 11:08 p.m. to 11:39 p.m., was just black. No file. No error message. Every other hour before and after was intact. But that half hour? Like it had been deleted, or overwritten, or never existed. And I hadn't touched anything. That's when I realized I was being watched. Not just once. Not just by Celeste running barefoot into the night. Someone was watching me now. Actively. Quietly. Strategically. Like I was the next loose end. I did what anyone in my place would do. I panicked. I ran upstairs, grabbed every laptop, tablet, USB stick, hard drive, anything digital, and stuffed them in a backpack. Then I drove. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to move, to get out of the house, away from anything that had a camera or a microphone or some login I'd forgotten. I ended up 2 towns over, in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, sitting in my car, staring at the screen of Celeste's iPad like it was going to talk back. I connected to the diner's Wi-Fi, paranoid even about using my own data. And I started searching, deeper than before. I looked up Ezra. No new posts. But I found something strange on a travel forum. A thread asking if medical centers in Costa Rica were required to report communicable diseases to foreign governments. The username? Alang_121. Ezra Langford. He was asking about keeping something quiet. And then, beneath that post, was one reply. Only one. From another anonymous user with no profile image. It said, "They don't report unless someone dies." That was 3 days before Celeste flew back. I was still parked at the diner, trying to convince myself that I was chasing shadows, when I noticed something strange about Celeste's travel bag. I hadn't gone through it yet. It had been sitting by the front door ever since she came home and ran. At first, I left it untouched, thinking maybe she'd return. Then I forgot about it. But now that I had her devices and had seen what Ezra had been posting, I knew I had to check everything. Back home, I opened the bag on the kitchen floor. Most of it was what you'd expect. Clothes, toiletries, a half-used bottle of sunscreen, the scent of hotel laundry detergent still clinging to the fabric. But in one of the side pockets, zipped deep inside, was something I couldn't explain. A plastic envelope, the kind used in hospitals. Inside was a folded piece of paper, slightly crumpled, stained with what I hoped was coffee. It wasn't labeled, but when I unfolded it, I immediately recognized the format. It was a medical test result. The name at the top was Ezra Langford. The clinic listed was the same one I'd seen in his Instagram post. The date matched the week Celeste had disappeared. But the part that stopped me cold was a red box in the center of the page, with one word stamped across it. Positive. No explanation. No disease name. No context. Just that word. Cold, clinical, final. I flipped the page over. Nothing. But something about the way it was folded caught my attention. There was another slip of paper tucked inside. This one handwritten, sloppier, on hotel stationery. He didn't tell me. I didn't know until after. I don't think he knows I found this. I'm scared to say anything. If you find this before I do, I'm sorry. There was no name on the note. No signature. But the handwriting was Celeste's. I recognized the way she dotted her I's like little check marks. I used to love that about her. Now it made my skin crawl. Whatever Ezra tested positive for, Celeste had found out after the fact. But she hadn't left. She stayed. For days. Long enough to write this, fold it up, and pack it like a time bomb. But why hide it in the bag? Why not destroy it? Or tell someone? Or leave the country? Unless she already tried to. And someone stopped her. After reading the note, I didn't know what to do first. Part of me wanted to burn it. Pretend I never saw it. The other part wanted to take it straight to the police, drop it on the front desk, and let them deal with whatever hell my wife had walked into. But I didn't do either. I sat in the living room for hours, staring at the folded letter on the coffee table like it might unfold itself and offer a better explanation. It was almost midnight when my phone rang. No caller ID, just unknown. I hesitated, then answered, expecting silence or another cryptic warning. But there was a voice. Female. Rushed. Shaking. Tell me you still have it, she said. I didn't recognize the voice at first, but the panic sounded real, desperate, like someone who wasn't sure she had much time. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, my body frozen. And that silence must have tipped her off, because after a few seconds, she said, "Wait, this isn't Ezra's number, is it?" Before I could respond, the call dropped. I tried calling back. Nothing. Tried again. Voicemail. The number was already deactivated, like it had never existed. But the most disturbing part? She hadn't asked who I was. She just assumed Ezra had the note, which meant she didn't know Celeste had already left. Or worse, she thought Ezra had taken something from her. And then I remembered something. Earlier that week, before the trip, Celeste had left her work bag on the kitchen counter, half open. I hadn't thought anything of it then, but now, every little detail felt important. I went looking. In the back pocket, behind her notebooks and her charger, I found a second envelope. This one thinner, almost like an invitation. Inside was a business card, plain white, no logo. Just a name and a number. Dr. Adrian Myrov, infectious disease consultant. Not local. New Jersey. And on the back, scribbled in pencil, were 4 words. Do not go public. The name on the card stayed in my head all night. Dr. Adrian Myrov. I looked him up the next morning, bracing myself for the worst. Instead, I found a modest website. Not some shadowy government agency or high-security lab. Just a well-reviewed specialist who'd done consulting work during the pandemic and now worked in private international cases, mostly involving travel-related exposures. I called the number. A woman answered. She asked who I was, and when I gave my name, she went quiet for a moment, then said Dr. Myrov would call me back. Less than an hour later, he did. What I expected was deflection, evasion, maybe even threats. What I got was something entirely different. He sounded calm, professional, tired. He asked me to listen, then explained everything. Ezra had been part of a small experimental group involved in early testing of an international health protocol, a monitoring system for rare virus exposure during disaster relief work. Nothing fatal, nothing contagious in the traditional sense. But there had been a clerical error. He was flagged with a false positive. By the time it was discovered, Ezra had already told Celeste. He panicked, thinking he had exposed her. She panicked because she thought she had exposed me. That's what the hospital report was, an outdated, incorrect version that hadn't been scrubbed from the system yet. Celeste didn't know what to believe. She'd fled because she thought I was already sick, that it was already too late. That's why she ran when I asked about the illness, because she thought I knew. But I didn't. And she couldn't bring herself to explain it. She was ashamed of what she'd done, of who she'd become, and maybe, deep down, of how easy it had been to leave someone who had loved her so fully. Dr. Myrov offered to put me in touch with her. Said she'd been staying at a friend's place under a different name. Said she hadn't stopped asking about me since the night she disappeared. I waited 2 days before agreeing. We met in a parking lot, both of us older by a year in just a week. She looked like someone who had been running in circles, out of breath, holding too much regret to carry on her own. The first thing she said wasn't "I'm sorry." It was, "Are you okay?" That mattered more than I expected. We talked for 3 hours. And no, we didn't get back together right there. It's not a fairy tale. But we didn't scream. We didn't accuse. We tried to understand. She admitted the affair. I admitted the distance I'd created without realizing it. She told me the whole story, and I believed her. Forgiveness is slow. Trust, even slower. But healing? Healing started that day. She's staying with family for now. We text sometimes. I told her I'm open to therapy, not for the marriage, but for both of us, separately, to rebuild ourselves before we rebuild anything else. I still don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing. The worst part is behind us. And we survived it. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all.